The morning sun slipped through thin curtains, landing on Mara Desai's tired face. Her hands moved like clockwork, washing dishes, folding clothes, wiping counters, every motion rehearsed 1,000 times. Across the dining table sat Rafiq, her son, staring at his phone. Beside him, Naila, his wife, scrolled endlessly, sighing at every small noise Mara made. Ami, can you keep it down? We're trying to eat in peace, Naila said sharply. Mara smiled softly, her eyes calm. Of course, Betta. She said Betta, even when the word burned. Years ago, this house belonged to her and her late husband, Rohit Desai. They built it brick by brick. After his passing, Rafiq had convinced her to transfer everything into his name for security, he said. She believed him. Now, she lived as a guest in her own home. That evening, while cleaning Rafiq's study, she found an envelope under a pile of receipts. Inside was a property brochure marked for sale. Her name wasn't anywhere on it. Her breath froze. She stared at the photos of her home printed beside a price tag. When Rafiq walked in, she asked quietly, "You're selling the house?" He didn't look up. "We need something new, Ma. You'll come with us." Her heart twisted. "And if I don't want to go?" He finally looked at her. Cold eyes, a faint smirk. "You don't have a choice." Mara stood still as he walked out, leaving her surrounded by the echo of his footsteps. That night, she sat beside Rohit's photo, whispering, "I kept quiet to keep peace, but they've turned peace into prison." She picked up her old phone and dialed a number she hadn't called in years. "Hello, Advocate Imran? This is Mara Desai. I think it's time we talk." As the line crackled with the lawyer's voice, a calm fire flickered in Mara's eyes. Something inside her had finally awakened. Imran met her the next day at a quiet cafe near the post office. He had aged, but his voice still carried quiet conviction. "You said you signed the property papers years ago?" he asked, scanning old files. "Yes. Rafiq said it was temporary. I didn't read them properly." Imran sighed. "Mara, that transfer wasn't valid. He used an outdated form, no proper witness signatures. The house legally still belongs to you." She blinked, stunned. "You're certain?" He nodded. "I'll have it verified by tomorrow." For the first time in years, Mara walked home not as a shadow, but as someone reclaiming her ground. At home, Naila was shouting into the phone, "What do you mean the buyer backed out?" Mara quietly entered the kitchen. The smell of burnt curry filled the air. "Ami, where were you?" Naila snapped. "I told you to make lunch 2 hours ago." Mara didn't reply. She opened the window to let the smoke out and said softly, "You shouldn't cook on high flame. It burns fast." Naila rolled her eyes. "Don't lecture me." That evening, Rafiq cornered her near the hallway. "What did you tell Naila? She's upset again." "Nothing," she said calmly. He shook his head. "You're becoming difficult lately. Maybe we should move sooner." She looked him in the eye, steady and quiet. "Maybe you should." He froze. He never heard that tone from her before. That night, she locked her room, pulled out an old metal box from under her bed, and began gathering every paper she could find, bills, deeds, and letters from Rohit. Among them was a faded note in his handwriting. "Never let anyone take what we built, Mara. Not even love." Her fingers trembled around it. As thunder rolled outside, Mara whispered, "I'm taking it all back." And for the first time, she meant every word. Morning light filtered into the kitchen. catching dust in the air. Mara stirred tea for 3, her movements unhurried. The clinking of spoons, the simmer of milk, the same sounds that had once comforted her now felt like background noise to a storm forming inside her. Rafiq walked in, adjusting his tie. "Ma, I told you, pack your things. The house deal's almost done." She poured tea into cups, and where will I go? "Of course with us. Nayela found a nice apartment downtown." He took a sip and frowned. "Needs more sugar." Mara smiled faintly. "Then maybe you should add some yourself." He looked up, puzzled. "What?" "Nothing." She turned back to the stove. Her tone was calm, but something in it made him pause. That afternoon, she met Imran again, this time at his small office near the market. The old fan above buzzed as he handed her a folder. "It's confirmed," he said. "You're the legal owner. They can't sell a brick of that house without your written consent." Mara's breath steadied. "So the papers he made me sign—" "Worthless," Imran said, smiling. "But if you want to secure it completely, we'll re-register it under your full name." Quietly. She looked down at the holder. The house deed, stamped, official, and hers. She said, "Do it," softly. By evening, she walked home lighter, carrying the folder like a secret flame. Inside, she found Nagila throwing things into a suitcase. "What's going on?" Mara asked. "Rafiq and I are leaving for 2 days, meeting the buyer in person." She zipped the bag shut. "You'll manage, right?" Mara leaned against the doorway. "I always do." The younger woman rolled her eyes and walked out. When the gate slammed, silence filled the entire house. A silence Mara hadn't felt in years. She walked slowly through each room. The hall, the study, the little prayer corner Rohit had built. She touched the walls like greeting an old friend. Then she went to the study and unlocked the drawer Rafiq always kept locked. Inside, the sale documents, the buyer's offer, and forged signatures. Her name in someone else's handwriting. Her hands shook, but her face stayed calm. She placed her new legal file beside those papers and whispered, "Not this time." Later, as night deepened, she stood on the balcony. The neighborhood dogs barked. A train passed in the distance. Mara looked out at the streetlights flickering under the drizzle and felt something she hadn't in years. Control. Her phone buzzed. A message from Imran. "Everything finalized. Your property is fully secure. Congratulations." She typed back just 2 words. "Thank you." As she locked her phone and turned toward the house, headlights appeared at the gate. Rafiq and Nayila had come back early. Mara's calm expression didn't change, but her eyes flickered. The quiet war was about to begin. Rafiq pushed the gate open, rain dripping from his jacket. "Power cut halfway to the city," he muttered, shaking his head. "We'll leave tomorrow." Nayila followed, her mood sour. All this for nothing! That broker wasted our time. Mara stood in the hallway, half lit by a small lamp. "Welcome back," she said quietly. Rafiq frowned. "Why are you still up?" "Couldn't sleep." She gestured to the living room. "We need to talk." He sighed, glancing at Nayila. "Now?" "Yes, now." They exchanged an annoyed look but followed her in. Mara sat down on the single sofa while they remained standing, the unspoken balance shifting already. She slid a thin folder across the table. "Read this." Rafiq opened it lazily, but as his eyes scanned the first page, the color drained from his face. Nayila leaned over. "What is this?" "The property papers," Mara said. "The real ones. The house was never yours, Rafiq." "That's not possible," his voice cracked. "You signed everything to me on invalid documents." She interrupted softly. I had them reviewed. Legally, this home still belongs to me. She notched the folder. You can't just... I can, Mara replied, steady as stone. And I did. Everything is registered, again, under my name. Rafik looked at her as if seeing her for the first time. Why would you do this to us? Mara's gaze softened. Do this to you? You were selling my home without telling me. You made me feel like a guest in the house your father built with me. He opened his mouth, but no words came. Naila crossed her arms. You think you can kick us out? We've built a life here too. Mara stood with her voice still calm. You're welcome to start again, somewhere else. The room fell into heavy silence. Only the soft hum of the fridge filled the air. Rafik whispered almost